I've been watching 2 days of the Senate Select Inquiry into information integrity on climate and energy, or misinformation and disinformation. It's already obvious that the outcome of this inquiry was written before the motion establishing it even passed the Senate. The goal is simple. This committee seeks to manufacture consent to pass sweeping censorship laws on all Australians. There are dozens of submissions to this inquiry that explain the inconvenient truth. None of these witnesses, though opposing censorship, have been given an opportunity to appear at over 2 days of public hearings. The largest spreaders of misinformation and disinformation on climate are the government and billionaire investors of solar and wind. Every single witness over the last 2 days of public hearings has been supportive of an undefined enforcement or punishment for climate myths and disinformation. Underneath the glossy words, the friendly statements, the unsupported claims, and the misinformation and disinformation, this committee and hearing witnesses seek to inflict a totalitarian censorship regime on the Australian people. Where are the balancing views? Where are the counter-arguments to this push for unprecedented censorship of even politicians? None have been heard at these hearings, except for Senator Canavan's attempts to bring some reasonable questions to witnesses asking for Australians and politicians to be silenced. These attempts have been met with unprecedented interruptions from the government senator, the deputy chair trying to run interference. This brings me to the allegations from Mr. Alex Murray of Climate Action Against Disinformation, against myself and other parliamentarians. In the Climate Action Against Disinformation, or CAAD, submission, he accuses me of amplifying disinformation by pointing out globalist forums and the Paris Agreement gut our manufacturing and make Australia dependent on other nations like China. China, in 1 year, built enough coal-fired power stations to double the entire capacity of our Australian national electricity market. These facts are true, yet me supposedly saying them justifies me being thrown off social media and being stopped from communicating with Australians, with my constituents. Equally, CAAD accuses Senator Hanson of disinformation for linking the hundreds of billions of dollars to be spent on unreliable green schemes to economic hardship. Again, it's simply a fact that the net zero agenda will cost at minimum hundreds of billions of dollars, more than $1 trillion. It's a fact that the Australian people will wear this cost in one form or another. Yet apparently saying this justifies having Senator Hanson censored. CAAD concludes, quote, targeting these accounts, Senator Hanson and me, would have an outsized impact on the problem. And CAAD states, quote, we are a global coalition serving an essential architecture for robust global action. So let's be completely clear about what's been proposed here. A foreign, unelected, private lobbying organisation is advocating for the targeted removal of duly elected Australian parliamentarians from the public debate on behalf of foreign organisations. That's no conspiracy. These are all facts contained in CAAD's submissions. The net zero agenda and the climate push do not originate in Australia. Both are concocted in foreign boardrooms like the United Nations and pushed onto Australians against our will and against our national interests. The Page Research Centre has provided an incredibly good submission, number 140, detailing how hundreds of millions of dollars in dark foreign money has flowed to supposedly organic, independent wind and solar activist organisations. It would be convenient for the government if its supportive activists could continue misinformation about the impacts of their policies. Like when Prime Minister Anthony Albanese told the Ballarat Bush Summit in August that, quote, there hasn't been a new coal-fired power station for this century, end of quote. This is an outright lie, or should I apply the term disinformation? Perhaps misinformation. The workers who built Kogan and Millmerran power stations here in Queensland must have been confused what they'd built. Or misinformation, like whenever Energy Minister Chris Bowen says anything, including that Australians' electricity bills will come down from 2022 levels. Yet this committee has seriously taken evidence that it's only so-called right-wing politicians who lie and engage in disinformation. These hearings are not about misinformation and disinformation. This committee's entire purpose is to run cover for installing an insidious censorship complex that will enable government to implement whatever policies they want under the umbrella of climate and energy narratives, unquestioned and unopposed. This censorship complex will be directed one way, at politicians like me who are willing to stand up and tell Australians the truth about what these policies mean for the people's economic welfare. The climate scaremongers and parasitic billionaire wind and solar investors leeching subsidies from families and from small business power bills will have free rein to tell as many lies as they want as they already do. Any senator who would sign on to censoring duly elected members of Parliament should consider what would happen if that boot were on the other foot. Anyone who calls for censorship of the free debate of Australians stands condemned.